Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me. Again, give me a hashtag replay. For those of you on this early, you're definitely replaying, and I really do appreciate it. I know that when you replay, you are scheduling the time and carving it out of your busy schedule to be here today. So I really do appreciate that. And I am honored that you actually take the time to hear me. So again, I'm going to introduce myself. For those of you that this might be your first session, my name is Evelyn Knight. I'm the founder and CEO of Childcare Business Professionals, which is a company that helps owners and directors navigate the business end of early childhood education. I am on a mission to help 10,000 childcare centers increase their quality in order to bring better outcomes for the children and in order to find success within their own life and peace. I know a lot of times this industry is hard and a lot of us are exhausted, and it doesn't have to be that way. So one of my missions is to help make sure that you can navigate being an early childhood owner or director without that high stress. And I'm going to be honest, it is stressful. There's always going to be something, right? But it doesn't have to be as bad. I get it. I'm also a childcare center owner now. It just like many of you, I am in the field every day, right? But I know how bad things can get. I was once upon a time an owner who felt defeated. I really did. I just got to the point that I just wanted to sell my center. It felt like a weight that was dragging me down. I woke up and every morning and I just was depressed and felt like it was literally draining the life out of me. I also felt like I was so alone. I felt so alone during that time. Like nobody understood. I literally felt like an island. My husband, my mom, everybody, or even my director at the time, my teachers, nobody truly understood the gravity of the responsibility of owning a childcare center and having all those children depending on you, having your staff's paychecks depending on you, not knowing how are you going to juggle it all, not knowing how to manage the call-ins, the parents who are angry, you're not paying their bills. It was so overwhelming once upon a time for me, and I felt so alone. And that's why I started this company. I don't want you to feel that way. And I know it doesn't have to be that way. And if I can help you learn the easier way, how to find peace and not wake up every morning feeling that way, then my job is done. That is my goal for you, is to find that peace, be able to connect with your passion for ECE to get again. And remember, why did you decide to become an owner? Why did you decide to become a director? Right? Being able to reconnect with that and love your center again, it is possible. I actually at one point I had my center up for sale. I was just so done. I couldn't do it emotionally. I was exhausted and drained, and I know how that feels. And my mission and goal is to help you. Let's just fast forward through that pain. You don't have to be there. Use my experience so that you can live a happier life. It doesn't have to be this way. I promise you. I've done it. I've been there and done that. So that is a very long introduction. I was going to do it quickly, but I don't know. It just kind of came to me that somebody out there that is listening is feeling exhausted and defeated. And if you are, reach out to me or one of my team members. I would love to help. We can help. That is why I did what I did. I'm doing. So say good morning, give me an emoji. I can see your comments. Over here, I've got my laptop here so I can see your comments. Let me know you're there today. I love the interaction. It does get lonely on this side of the screen. And I like to just know too that the work I'm doing is actually making a difference. I am very passionate about early childhood education, and I just want to make sure that I am making an impact. Whether you become one of my clients or not, I want to make change within your center, right? And that is my mission that God put me here for. So, good morning, Jessica. I hope you're enjoying the series. Thank you. And good morning. Let's see who, oh, it says Facebook user. So, good morning. I'm getting lots of good mornings. Good morning, Jennifer. Thank you for joining me today, everybody. So today I want to actually talk a little bit about what I have to offer before we get into the content. Today we're going to talk about creating your dream team, and I'm also going to. There's something else I want to talk about today as well, and well, it all leads to creating your dream team. Right. I'm going to give you foundational pieces in order to what do you need to have that dream team with the team you already have. How are you going to attract them as well, right? How are you going to attract the right people? And attracting them is just such a small piece of the puzzle that I really feel like I would be doing you guys a big disservice if I didn't really dive into, okay, now that you've got them applying, what do you do with them, right? Because that is just maybe a, not even a quarter. Gosh, it's not even a tenth of what is really the bigger issue, which is performance retention and creating this long lasting, wonderful employee, right? So, but before we get into that, I do feel like I would be doing you guys a disservice if I didn't talk to you a little bit about what we have to offer. So I just want to let you know, and what a little bit about what we're doing this week. I also do have some promotions going on for you within my own membership. So I wanted to let you guys know about what is going on. As of next Wednesday, we are actually raising the price of our membership. So if you're on the fence about becoming a member, if you have questions about it, take action now. Right now, our membership is a 1-year program. And basically, with that program, I help you with everything. We've create the foundation for your center policies, procedures, like I was talking to you guys about the other day, your employee handbook, your parent orientation. Are you doing a parent orientation? Do you have a hard time with parents whose children don't show up and then they want a discount? I really, really hope you're not discounting them, right? Do your parents understand that they pay for enrollment, not attendance? And if they don't, do they argue with you about things like this? Well, they do, then it's probably because you don't have an orientation. You're not educating your parents, right? An orientation is an amazing thing where all those problems you have with the parents, when do they pay? Why do they pay when they're not there? How do they drop off their children? How do they pick up their children? All of these things, biting policies, potty training, these are addressed during an orientation, and it really helps you to overcome a lot of future problems, just helping parents assimilate, and it helps to create more loyal parents. So that is just one very small piece of what we have to offer, what we help you to establish within your own program. The new hire training is probably the most pivotal, one of the most pivotal things that we offer for you guys, where I give you my new hire training so that your teachers are really assimilating into the program. You're not just throwing them in and expecting them to know what to do, right? Or you're not expecting your teachers to know how to train when you haven't trained them yourself. So there's so much more. Also, right now, I'm doing a leadership series live every week, and all the other trainings, they are basically all pre-recorded, ready for you to follow in our group. I have hours worth of different modules, and each thing I mentioned is actually a different module that I train on. You get all my materials, and then you adapt it to your center. Let's see. In learning, okay, let's see. I'm interested in learning how you do your enrollment. It's only one time a year, correct? Oh, Michelle. Okay, so we actually do a couple things with enrollment. So I think what you're referring to is our transitions. So yes, we actually do it 2 times a year. And the way we work at my center is and this is a high quality standard, and I can tell you guys it'll take so much stress off your back if you do this, and I can teach you how to do this. Michelle, we can definitely work on this, but we only enroll we do transitions 2 times a year, which is why the enrollment actually happens this way. So what we do is basically at the beginning of the school year, everybody who is going to be moving up to the next room move up together at the same time. And then we do that again at the beginning of the year, like January to February-ish. And we gauge the center. right? So like 90% of the time, this is going to happen in January. But every now and then, the way things work out, we need to push it to about February. But we're looking at the children based on when are they going to kindergarten. And I'm going to qualify that in a second also. But they move together as a group. Our transition process is a 2 week long process. The reason we do this is because, again, one of my key values and one of my superpowers is nurturing the children and making sure we're always doing everything from a place of love, right? And so, what that ends up doing when you transition the children together and giving them that time to transition, they are so much more confident. It flows beautifully. So, you don't have that period of them being uneasy, crying, and when they move into the next room, they're going with a group of their peers. So, they're going with the people they're used to and they're familiar with. One of the things we do also is for the first week, their teacher, like their primary, so we do like primary caregivers, their primary caregiver is going to move into that classroom with them. They're only going to go for the first part of the morning. So let's say 9 to noon, right? They're going to go spend the first week together. And I know what many of you guys are thinking, well, how does that work for staffing? But what you need to understand is the entire building is moving at once, right? So that means my infant teacher is going to be in my 1-year-old classroom, one of them. One of my 1-year-old teachers is going to be in the 2-year-old classroom, one of the 2-year-olds. So it just shifts the entire building. So it works beautifully. And so the first week, as the group of children that are transitioning together are assimilating to this new room, this new way of doing things, right? They're actually with their teacher and with their peers. And so then the other two, like usually I have 3 teachers per classroom. So the other 2 teachers are going to be the teachers they're going to be working with, right? But they're going to still have their one primary caregiver. During that time, that primary caregiver is also helping the children get to know this other teacher, helping the teacher get to know the child, which is the most important part of this. So basically what ends up happening is half of the, and it just, numbers just work out this way. Half of your classroom will move when the school year starts, and the other half is going to move basically in January, right? And that's and we do base it on development. I do not like to label children based on an age. We actually do the assessments, see where they're at cognitively. Well, how much can they handle? And my biggest concern is the social emotional factor. When they're ready, they move. So every one of your children are going to move within that year period, but those are the 2 different periods of time that you're going to move them, right? So what that ends up doing though, especially during the, and I know what you're saying with the enrollment, what happens in August is the children that are graduating out of my program, well, since the kids are cycling through, that does create openings. It does create openings every August in my center since we're cycling through. So yeah, so that's how by default, so we don't intentionally only enroll once a year, but it just kind of happens by default because of how we do our transitions. Now, that being said, if a parent relocates tomorrow, we still will enroll another child. But new children don't start as often as you think, as when I worked in childcare centers in the past, and when I even just have the childcare center I ran myself, we used to, always like every week, it seemed like there was a new child. When you start putting these quality practices into place, everything just falls in line and it just flows and becomes a system, right? And that is something we teach with you. We can teach with you guys. I should really do a training on that, Michelle. I'm really glad you brought that up. Let's see. Heather says, joining your membership was such a great thing for my business. I have received so much good information as well as being able to get help with the situation. Yes, Heather, I actually really enjoy working with you. So there, Heather, able to ask for opinions. Yes, just some, and that's one of the things I wanted to bring when I started my program. And it's gone through some different transformations in the membership community that I've created. The reason I created that is for what Heather is basically saying right now. And what I was saying earlier, I felt so alone. And other owners and even directors, a lot of times they see you as competition. So there's very little collaboration. And my business coach always says collaboration over competition, which is something I have absolutely fully embraced at this point in my life, because it gets so lonely. It does, especially as an owner. I mean, as a good leader, one of the things I will train you if you work with me, is that you never vent down, you vent up. But when you're the owner, there is no one, there's nobody. And my poor husband got so tired of hearing it. One day he just said, I don't want to hear it anymore. If you either sell this program or I'm done, but I don't want to hear it anymore. So it gets extremely lonely. It does. And you just feel like nobody understands, nobody's in the world that gets it. So, as one of my members, you guys have each other. My community has, you guys have me, and I love, like Heather and I, we chat a lot on Messenger, but I just like being there for you because I know that feeling of absolute overwhelm and how terrifying things can be sometimes. And just having someone come by your side is so empowering. And I can tell you, for me, myself, there were times where you know what to do, but you really doubt yourself and you're so scared. And sometimes all we need is that person to come behind us and say, you're right. And that's a great example. Heather and I had a conversation yesterday where she was spot on with what she wanted to do. She was spot on with her opinion. She really just needed me to give her that reassurance that, yes, you know what you got it. You've got this, right? You know exactly what you think is correct. So we all need that. I still need that as a coach. I go to my coaches, right? A lot of times we know, but we're in that fish tank. And when you're in the fish tank, it's so hard to see the big picture. So sometimes what we just need is getting out of that fish tank. So let's see. So I just wanted to let you guys know a little bit more about it, but just telling you guys about that again. Right now, the price is $297 a month. That's it. I'm it's kind of funny. My business coach is always like, "That's all you charge? Are you kidding me? For everything, you're basically giving an entire preschool business out there for the whole business structure for $297 a month." So because of this, we will be raising the price. As of Wednesday of next week, the price is going from $297 to $497 a month. If you sign up before then, you will be at that price, the $297. We are guaranteeing the price up until Wednesday of next week, but the price is going up. I'm literally giving you guys the entire business structure for a childcare center. You can basically, if a person was going to buy and to open, you have got that business structure in place. The managing the employees, and the staff, or the employees and the children. Staff and employees are the same thing, right? So if I were to take this as a package, I could easily sell it for $10,000 to $12,000. Instead, I'm doing it for $297 a month. The other promotion I have going on right now is if you sign up before next Wednesday and you decide to pay in full for the entire year in full, we are giving a 15% discount on that. That is over a $500 savings. So I've never done this before, but my business advisor told me, you know what, why don't you do this for them? I'm like, okay, you know what, well, let's do it. So I know a lot of us have a lot of grant money right now from what's going on. If you want to save money, which is really good business practice, sign up for the year. First time I've ever done this, I'm giving a 15% discount if you decide to sign up for the year. Again, that's over $500 savings. And the other thing that we are offering too is if you sign up today, if you pull the trigger and become a member today, I am giving you a one-on-one session with me. I am not doing one-on-ones anymore so much. I do have office hours every week, so you do have access to me if you sign up. Log on to my office hours. I'm on there every week, so you have access to me. But moving forward, I am no longer doing one-on-one sessions. I have coaches now that I'm training to do it. My time has become so limited, and I have so many people requesting time with me, and there's only so many hours in a week. And so I am no longer doing coaching one-on-one. I'm doing group coaching now. And if you want that though, if you sign up by the end of today, we are giving away a coaching session with me. Now, and when I say I'm not doing it, I do sell like coaching sessions when people contract me. And normally I do 1 hour of a coaching call with me is $750 if you were just to buy that. So If you decide to sign up today, by the end of today, you pull the trigger and become my member, you will actually get a call with me that is worth $750. And we can break it up into two 30-minute sessions. That's totally fine with me. But that's a lot of times with a lot of people, it's a lot in 30 minutes. So breaking it up into two, or if you want the 1 hour, that's fine. But that is just for today only. I do not have a lot of time left in my schedule. So I'm not giving too many of those slots away. So make sure you take advantage of that. And I just want to tell you guys before we get started too, you don't have to struggle. It doesn't have to be this way. I don't want you to also think that I'm going to wave a magic wand and things are going to change. If you do the work that I have for you, if you go through my membership site and do the work, you will see change. It is inevitable. I've experienced it myself. I basically created this program on where I was and that time in my life where I was just so miserable and lonely and just felt defeated. And I have duplicated the exact process that I went through, minus the trial and error, and I'm bringing it to you. So for those of you who start thinking, I can't afford this, I can't do, it's just $297. Oh, it's too much money. I want to challenge you to ask yourself, can you really not afford to do this? When I hired my first business coach, I remember driving away and her going over everything with me, and I felt so defeated and just like, I'm already going bankrupt. I was literally going bankrupt, you guys. I mean, literally was like negative $5,000 in my bank, going bankrupt. And I'm thinking, and by the way, she charged $750 a month. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't do it. This was my last hope. What am I going to do? I can't do it. And there was a voice in my head that said, can you afford not to do this? You're going to lose everything anyway. Why not? Right? And as I was driving home, and it was about a 45-minute drive, I thought to myself, I just kind of started going through everything. It's like, can you afford not to do that? You're exhausted. At that point, I would have paid anything not to feel the way I felt anymore, not to feel that exhaustion, the shame, the defeat, the failure, right? And I just decided I'm going to do this. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Money is fluid. Money comes and goes. We get so scared and we hold on to it, right? We're so scared of the scarcity of money. But I've learned through this process that when you understand the mindset, sometimes you have to invest in things in order to grow, right? And that is where change happens. So I want to challenge you guys who are really scared and who want to do my program, but you're so scared to spend the money. First thing I want to ask yourself is, do you believe in your dream? Do you believe in you? Joining my program, when you just know in your heart that you are bringing something to the world that those children need, right? And again, my gosh, I'm just like all week this week. It's my emotion. I don't know. This whole year has been just an emotional roller coaster, but I just remember feeling this way and just putting myself back in those feelings and knowing where I am today makes me very emotional. Ask yourself, like, I know what I'm bringing to the world is meaningful. I know I can make a difference. I know, but I just am missing something. What is that missing piece, right? Is that worth $297 a month? Honestly, when I say it out loud, like I was like, gosh, $297 is nothing when you know the change that you're bringing to the world. What we do isn't just a job. It is a movement. It is world changing. It is life changing, right? This is something so much bigger than just me. And that's why I bring it to you. It is bigger than just you. So if you have that passion and belief in yourself, in your center, in the mission you're on in life, but you know at this point it's not working. What you're doing today is not working. Come and join us. I would love to show you how it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. Let's see. What does Tiffany? Tiffany is one of my clients. We looked at that with staffing, creating culture of retention Yes, delegating, we would see the return on. Yes, exactly. And that is something of a great, yeah. So Tiffany is actually one. I love Tiffany that you analyzed becoming my member that diligently. I absolutely, as a business coach, I love this. Tiffany is one of my newer members too. We looked at the that with staffing, creating a culture of retention, delegating, etc. Would see the return. It's ROI, right? Return on investment, causing it to balance out. Exactly. And that's something as a business coach, I'm going to tell you guys out there, you got to think about. The money you're investing is going to make you so much more money. If you're not constantly chasing and having that revolving door of having to pay for ads to hire, right? If you're not having that revolving door in enrollment, most of you are probably not charging enough. One of the first things we can look at is how much are you charging and how can we fix this? You're going to make your money back. When I hired my first business coach, she basically told me to go and cut 10% of my spending. And I was like, there's no way. I'm already running out of paper towels and buying the cheapest everything I possibly could. How could I possibly do that? When I listened to her and did what she told me to do, I actually cut 17%. At this point, my center is running way more staffing. My payroll went from 65% to 45. Okay, huge, right? I mean, you don't know what you don't know. So I didn't realize all the places I was causing holes in my money bucket to just blow out. And coaching was huge to help me change that and to really help me save that money. So that $750 investment I made monthly ended up making me literally thousands of dollars. And I'll give you a rough, I'm trying to remember that I was at a negative $60,000 a year in my company. And I have now at a positive over six figures. So now when I think about it, yeah, $750 a month was way, way worth the investment. So Tiffany's absolutely right. You've got to look at your return on investment. The ROI is huge. Your return on investment is really, really, really important. And you're worth it. You are worth it. So often we're not willing to invest in ourselves, right? You have to just really look within yourself and realize that you are worth it. You are worth the investment. You are not, I don't know, we skimp on ourselves so much, but your mental health, which is why I brought Angie on board, right? And just having those systems in place where it's not so stressful, it will make it worth it for you. So that is basically my talk on why you need to work with us. We really are on a mission to change. And I really hope that I can change many of your lives. But let's talk about our dream team today. And I'm going to start by talking to you guys about a study done by a gentleman named Don Kelly. And Don Kelly basically was a psychologist, and he had a big team, and they did this big study about change and the effects of change in our brain, right? So many of us are scared to take the leap into change. That's why a lot of you guys are afraid to invest in coaching, right? That's why a lot of you are afraid to, you take this training I'm doing this week. You're in this workshop, but Monday nothing changes. You just stay with it because you're so afraid. Is it really going to work, right? So as you're taking this training, what Don Kelly talks about is the phases that your brain goes through, right? And the phases that your brain goes through in order to deal with and adjust to what's going on. Well, as you're listening to me talk, like day one, day two, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I've got to go do this right now. And you've got this optimism. And that is phase one of the brain's way of dealing with change. It's, oh my gosh, he has actual terms for it. And now I'm blanking on them. Let me see if I have them. I thought I brought some notes with me on this because I knew I would do this, but I brought the wrong notes. I know the phases, but so I'm just going to have to paraphrase. He has an actual name for it, but basically what it is your brain is super optimistic. You have this, like, you see it. It's clear. The vision of how this is going to look, how is it going to play out is just like crystal clear. And you've got this amazing optimism, right? and you go with it. And you're just like, let's get this going. But then the weekend hits and you start thinking, and these doubts start coming in. And oh, I remember, it's unrealistic optimism. So these doubts start coming in, and you're like, but maybe this and maybe that. Then you're like, yeah, but let's try it, right? So then Monday comes in and next week, and you start making these little changes, and things don't go exactly as that vision you saw, that you thought. They're not absolutely perfect. When we visualize things and we're making change, we tend to visualize them as just going smooth and perfect. We don't know what bumps are going to be in the road. So we see, like, it's Superwoman and it's just perfect and beautiful and everything's great. But as we go through the change, suddenly we realize, well, nothing's perfect. And now we hit these bumps, right? So we go from this unrealistic optimism to unrealistic pessimism. And it literally just flops on us, right? And we're like, oh, this isn't going to work. It just isn't going to work. It's just not working. It's just not working. And that takes us to the next phase, which is self-sabotage, right? Where we now, because of this unrealistic optimism or pessimism, and we just think nothing works. It's awful. We take these little bumps in the road, all the things that natural life throws, right? Nothing is perfect. And we automatically jump to, this isn't going to work. And we give up. That is where 80% of people fall off. 80% of people fall off at that unrealistic pessimism point. They go from this unrealistic optimism, completely flip around, and become unrealistically pessimistic. And there's no in between, right? There's not that, okay, yes, it is going to work, but no, it's not perfect. There's nothing perfect in this world, right? So they don't have that in between perspective. So then the next phase for people who keep going is they get to that reality point, and they basically have optimistic pessimism, which is where actually we really should be. We should be optimistic that, yes, this is going to be great, but there's going to be bumps in the road. Not everything's going to work out exactly as I thought. I'm going to have to adapt and change and learn until it does work, right? That's phase 3. And then the final phase is phase 4, which is success. Only about 10% of the population ever make it to phase 4 and find success, because through that journey, they give up. Even through the pessimistic optimism phase, where you're basically in touch with reality. And one of the things I always remind myself, that I think it was Katie Byron I learned this from, that life is 50% good and 50% bad, right? Everything we do is going to be that shift. And not everything is going to be 50-50. Some is going to be 70-30, either way, right? The good or the bad. But we need to choose to focus on that good, right? Because even when you get to that balance and you understand this is going to absolutely have a positive change that can be life-changing a year from now, but it's going to come with challenges. Nothing is easy, right? And sometimes the challenges are going to outweigh. Sometimes it's going to be amazing. Sometimes it's going to be, it's just going to be back and forth. So many people get terrified of that process and they quit before they hit the success. Okay. This is vital to you as a leader, to you as a recruiter, and to your staff. Helping them understand this process as well, guiding them through it, coaching them through this, and coaching yourself through it is absolutely vital. As you take what I've taught you and you start implementing it, you're going to get pushback. I promise. You will get pushback. You're going to do different things. They're not going to work. You're going to have to figure out, okay, how can I change my phrasing on this? You got to adapt before you perfect anything, right? But when you start having those seeds of that unrealistic pessimism, you have to remind yourself, just like your teachers, when you are out there hiring people, you take the things that I've taught you about hiring, right? And now you've got this new hire. And now you've got to teach them. Well, they're going to have this like, oh my gosh, this job is amazing. It's going to be the most perfect job in the world. And I'm going to go play with children all day. And I'm going to make change. And I'm going to take this child who's in this abusive home and life is going to be sunshine and roses, right? That's the unrealistic optimism. You have to help them to see that their optimism is unrealistic and that we are for real. We are human, right? And it's not always going to be easy. But the reward at the end, the success that we achieve at the end of the day is what is important, right? Those hills that we have to climb, the bumps in the road are worth it to get to our end goal. That is what you have to keep focused on yourself and what you have to keep your staff focused on in order to retain them, right? And I mean, and I make it sound really easy, but it's not. I mean, there's a lot more that goes into that, right? I'm not going to sit here and be unrealistically optimistic to you. I want to be honest and real with you as well. There's going to be bumps in the road. It is not easy, but it is so worth it if you stick with the route, right? And that's a lot of times where what happens and why we lose staff members so quickly is because everybody who takes a new job takes this job super excited, thinking that they're going to be so much better off than they were, thinking they're not going to be as tired. They're going to have more money. They're going to just leave work every day happy, right? Think about when you first start a job. Yes, you're nervous, but you wake up every morning excited to go to this job, right? And then 2 or 3 months later, when the routine is really setting in, it's like your brain's like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. This is not what I signed up for. Be ready for that with your team. Be ready to guide them through that. When they first start, help them to see that, yes, today you think it's like this, but when reality hits, it's not going to be, right? One of the recruits, we recently hired somebody that I'll be honest, it still makes me very, very nervous. And it's because of this one piece. It's when I'm hiring people, I'm really looking at, are they going to be able to deal with the reality of what it's like to work in a childcare center? Because I don't care if you have the most perfect childcare center in the world. When you put 100 children in a building, there's going to be issues, right? There is no such thing as perfect. We deal with parents. So, which to me is always the hardest part, is the parents. But when I'm sorry, I looked at the comments. It says, you look amazing, boss. Well, thank you. I'm glad, because I felt like my hair was awful today. So anyway, when you're dealing with people, we really need to remember and look and that it's not always roses. And even if you've been with your company for 15 years, there's going to be times where you're just like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. No matter how wonderful it is, right? You know, you love your job, and you have to keep reminding yourself, okay, I'm in this phase. How do I get out of it? How do I make myself see reality, right? And always reminding yourself that maybe your view of things is skewed right now. So when you get to that pessimism point, you've got to be able to bring yourself back. And you have to be able to become the leader who can bring your staff back. So that is one of the keys to being able to retain your staff, is helping them deal with that reality, helping them to see that process that our brains naturally go through, so that when they get to that unrealistic pessimism point and they're just like, everything sucks. This is horrible. This is the worst place I've ever worked in my life. They're not walking out the door. You help them, bring them back to the good, bring them back to your vision. Always bring them back to your vision, right? Always bringing that back. And that's why vision, again, is so important. Always bringing them back. So the next thing is, you really have to become a mentor and a coach. Coaching is vital. Having really good training systems in place, making your expectations painfully clear. Just like I tell my members all the time, leading a team is not very different than leading a 2-year-old classroom, right? Same principles. We're all humans. And, this is where my psychology degree comes in. Our brains are very basic. So leading a team is the same thing. You have to make your expectations very clear. Okay. I love telling the story about one of my all-time favorite staff members. She was actually to the point that in my director's phone. When this happened, I was actually the director at the time. It was a few years ago, but in my director today was my assistant at the time. Well, she labeled this person as Evelyn's princess because this she was just a stellar employee. I mean, a stellar employee. So there was a phase though where I felt like she was really disappointing me. And I just felt like, what is going on with her? She's becoming lazy. She's not living up to, she's not doing a good job. And I was really upset and disappointed with her, but I never voiced it to her. So it came time to do annual reviews. And I sat down to do her review. And I remember, I will never forget sitting at my desk, looking at the paper with her name on it and dreading her review because I just was like, this was one of my shining stars. And now she's like, what the heck happened to her? Right. So as I looked at her name on this piece of paper, I thought to myself, this is going to be awful. This review is not going to be pretty. And she worked for me for years. And like, she's never had a bad review. This is not going to be pretty. As I'm going through doing it, started noticing a pattern. And when I was finally done and I looked at her review, it turned out to be the closest to perfect review I had ever completed. Now, let me qualify. Our employee reviews are created based on the job descriptions and expectations that I wrote. I wrote my employee's job description. I wrote her expectations, right? And now I'm looking at this review that I wrote, and it is almost perfect. Closest to perfect review I've ever done in my life till this day. And I had to have a really big talk with myself. She's living up to the expectations that I communicated with her. She is doing an excellent job. So where was the problem? The problem was me. It wasn't her. Here I had been for a couple months, probably 2 months, disappointed in her, feeling like she wasn't doing a good job, feeling like she wasn't living up to the person I thought she was, all this stuff, right? All of these things. Just not happy with her at all, to the point that I'm thinking in my head, I'm going to have to get rid of her. I'm going to have to get rid of her. And then this review that I wrote based on what I communicated with her was nearly perfect. So I had to really have a reality check with myself and realize it's not her. It was my leadership causing her to be where she was, right? The expectations that I had voiced to her and that I had made clear to her, she was living up to almost to a T. Nobody is perfect. I don't expect anyone to be, but almost to a T. She is living up to these expectations. So then why had I been so disappointed, right? It's because I have not, as a leader, made my expectations clear to her. I had not voiced to her. I didn't really even know myself what I expected out of her, to be honest, right? I had unrealistic expectations of a stellar staff member, right? And that was me, not her. So I had to sit down and say, okay, how are we going to fix this? Is it time for her to step up into a new role? Is it time for this, and this? And that's basically what I did. So you have to have very clear, documented expectations for every single one of your staff members that they are trained on and that they are also getting feedback on. So in order to have your dream team, if you are wondering why your team doesn't mop the floor like you do, or they don't notice things like you do, first of all, they're not you. They're not all of us, right? And secondly, how have you communicated your expectations to them? Do they even know what you expect, or are you just expecting things out of them that you've never told them? I'm here to tell you guys there is no such thing as common sense. I know a lot of you are thinking, well, that's just common sense. No, it's not. There is no such thing as common sense. What I perceive as common sense, you may not. A great example of that is my son was training myself, me, my director, my assistant director the other day, and he's talking this like computer, it's all computer stuff, right? He's talking, he's 22 years old, talking computer jargon and I mean, in-depth stuff. And I'm just like, dude, you're talking a foreign language. We have no clue. He's like, Mom, this stuff is common sense. To me, it's not. I'm in my 40s. To me, this is not common sense. I don't know this stuff, right? My director, my assistant, we're all like, yeah, we don't know what you're talking about. But then let's flip the switch to him. Go change a diaper and make sure that baby's wiped clean. You and I think that's common sense, right? Making sure a baby's wiped clean is common sense. He's never held a baby and it's like he doesn't know that's common sense. He has no idea. So get rid of the notion of common sense. There is no such thing as common sense. You need to train everything. Yes, you need to train your staff that a baby needs to be wiped. You do. I know you think that's common sense, but it's not. Yes, you need to train the staff that when the children are done eating, they need to sweep and make sure there's no food on the floor. That is not common sense. There is no such thing. Get it out of your head. If you're expecting your staff to do things and just to know because you think it's common sense, I know this is a tough pill to swallow, but the problem is with you as a leader, it's not your staff. And I know that's hard. I had to have that talk with myself a couple times. So make sure that your expectations are very clear, they're documented, and you train on them. And then after that, you coach on them and you're giving them feedback every year. That's why my director does weekly observations and weekly meetings. Every month, every single teacher in my center is going to have a touch point with feedback. They're going to be told what they're doing wonderfully, and they're going to be told what they need to work on, right? Every single month. They're going to be growing all the time. You're never going to have that dream team if you don't make your expectations clear. If you don't step into the role of leader instead of manager, stop micromanaging your team. You're micromanaging your team because they don't know what to do. You haven't properly trained them, and there's no documentation for consistency. It's got to be the same thing every single time. If every time a child bites, you have to step in. If every time a parent is irate, you have to step in. It's because you don't have documented procedures, right? And the parent, it's all in your head. You know what to do, but nobody else does because it's all in your head. You've got to get it out of your head on paper or digital, and then you have to train on it somehow. Micromanaging doesn't help anybody. It just exhausts you, and you have to learn how to delegate. And a lot of times it's a power play. We want to stay in control and we want power over people. So we micromanage them in order to keep that power, right? And in order to be in control. So I'm a control freak. I get it. Will be the first to admit I am an absolute control freak. But I also have to admit that if I'm ever going to be successful, I have to let it go. I have to delegate. I have to trust my team. I have to be okay with the fact that they may not do things exactly like I do, but the end result, the product, is more important than the process. I also have to let my ego go and understand that sometimes they're better than me, right? There are some times, like my director is so much better than me when it comes to being a coach to our teachers. She is so much better than I ever was. And you have to be able to swallow your ego, right? And that's sometimes it's not easy, but you have to be able to swallow your ego, let your team step in to where they shine, right? And let them go. They may change the way you did things, but that's okay if it's what's best and if they do it better, right? So it's hard. Leadership is hard and it can be humbling because you have to ask yourself sometimes, A, where am I on a power trip? Where am I causing power struggles? B, where is my ego really coming into play here? C, do I have unrealistic expectations of my employees? Have I even voiced my expectations to my employees, right? These are all things. And D, am I being a mentor? Would I follow myself as a leader? And I want you to ask yourself that. Would you be willing to follow yourself as a leader, right? Are you a leader that you would want to follow? And if you're not, and if you're just managing your team, then why do you expect your team to follow you? How do you expect to have a dream team if the things I've mentioned are things that you're all guilty of, right? So if you're micromanaging, if you're not really understanding their power, I told you guys the other day the story about that staff meeting I had where I was so controlling and I just didn't let my staff just flow. And I sat there and realized I'm in this room with brilliant women that I have suppressed. I haven't allowed them because it's my way or the highway. And here I have a team of brilliant people, but I never stopped to listen, right? So if you're in that position too, let them speak. Get to know them. Get to know where they shine, and then give it to them. Give them ownership of that. Some people, like, we have different teams of people that we have like little committee type things that we do. We didn't do this last year because my husband was so sick, but normally, and we are planning on doing it again. But basically, certain team members, for example, are great with employee morale. They always remember everybody's birthdays. Assign them birthday and anniversaries. Assign them putting together your Christmas party. You don't have to do it all. Find their strengths and empower them with it. And I know a lot of times in our mind we're thinking, oh, but I don't pay them enough. People love to be empowered. They do. And when you go to them and say, hey, I am giving you this committee and you're in charge of all employee birthdays and anniversaries now, they get this feeling of, wow, you trust me with that? You think I'm capable of that? Right? And it really brings this loyalty and this trust, just like a 2-year-old, right? If they put their shoes on backwards, we leave it alone. If you're not, please leave their shoes alone if they put them on backwards, because we're sending them the message of, wow, you did it all by yourself, right? I trust you as a capable person. You did it. We celebrate the wins, not the losses. And so I got to qualify with that 2-year-old thing. Every time you switch to shoes, you're basically pointing out their failure instead of their accomplishment, right? And then we wonder why we have 7-year-olds who still can't tie their shoes because mom and dad always switch their shoes around. So, and eventually, yes, you're going to teach them the right foot. But in the beginning, you're celebrating the fact that they did it by themselves. So they put their coats on backwards. They did it by themselves. When you're allowing your staff to be in charge of birthdays and anniversaries, to be in charge of arranging the Christmas play. I know that's hard. That was a hard one for me. It's like, oh my God, parents are going to see it. But like, they're capable, brilliant women. They got this, right? And if you're really scared, my clients can tell you because I'm a control freak and it was really hard. I have annual calendars. I give each one of my staff members, right? And it tells them exactly, like in September, we start planning our Christmas play. And it says week 1, this has got to be done. Week 2, this has to be week 3. And it literally every month of the year, my staff has a January week 1, this has to be accomplished. January week 2, every month, every year, right? That way you're never chasing, what am I going to give my fathers for Father's Day? It's done a month ahead of time. But that's something too, where my expectations month by month are documented. They know, it's what, week 2 of December, I believe. I don't know. Are we in week 1 or 2? But basically they'll see, okay, this is what we need to get done. I don't have to be there over their shoulder telling them. They know exactly what I expect, exactly what I want. It's all documented. It's all there. And I let the how be with them because they are brilliant women that I am not going to suppress anymore like I used to years ago, right? And it's amazing how when you realize that you cannot do this alone, your team flourishes and they become an amazing dream team. But it takes training, it takes coaching, and it takes that, just all the things that I've been talking about. So I hope you guys found that helpful. I love how you speak the truth. Well, thank you. I can be brutally honest. I don't know. I guess I'm at a point in my life where sugarcoating is a waste of time, right? And I want you guys to see the reality. I'm an owner. I get it. I'm out there with you guys. I know what it's like. I see so many coaches coming into this field trying to coach childcare centers. Like, we are such a unique industry, especially post-COVID. Oh my gosh. If you have not been working in a childcare center since COVID, it is a totally different world. You have to have that experience. And that's what makes me different as a coach is I was there Monday when we went from 115 children to 27. I know it. We stayed open the whole time. I know what you guys are going through. I was there. My director's about to go into surgery. She has a surgery. She'll be gone for a few weeks. So I'll be there now, stepping back in for her. So I know what it's like. I get it. Well, thank you, Jessica. I'm glad that was very helpful for you. Okay, so Heather says, how do you go about training in an existing center when you have not been training in the past? We did that. We've been there and done that. So Heather, let's work on that also. I know we have a lot to work on. but especially since you're expanding, we want to make sure that before your expansion is complete, that all this is in place. Part of what you're going to do, just a really quick answer, is we're going to create your new hire training. And what's going to happen is your teachers actually end up training the new hires, right? That means that they have to go through the new hire training in order to be the trainers. So you're going to present it to them as, okay, this is how we're going to, and it's for them. In order to make your guys' life easier, I'm really working on ways to make your life easier, right? So we have come up with this new hire training program. So now I don't expect you guys to just work with all these people who don't know what they're doing. We're going to be training them now. But I need your help. You're going to be the one training them. And in order to train them, you need to go through the training, right? And so that's how you're going to be approaching it. And then we're going to do the new hire training with them. They're going to go through the 30-day new hire training process. You're going to coach them through it as the owner and your owner director. So you're going to coach them through it as the owner director. So you are training your existing staff, right? And you may have to do it in phases. It might have to be one classroom at a time. So it might take you a couple months to get through it, unless you have a strong support network that can help you. We can talk about that and how you can do it more quickly, but you're going to train them by making them the trainer, right? And that's where it's not like you're coming in and saying, oh, you've been doing everything awful, we're going to change everything. It's all in how you approach it. So hopefully that's helpful, and a way that it's going to get done where you're training them internally, but you're also killing two birds with one stone where you're training for the future. And again, you guys, don't forget that I am doing that question and answer session on Monday. I'm also been talking to one of my business advisors about doing a closed door Zoom session with any of you guys who are thinking about being a member. If you guys want to join us, we can talk through on, and that would be Monday evening. So let your concierge know if that's something you would be interested in. If we have enough people interested in it, we will schedule a closed door Zoom session. So I hope that is helpful for you guys. Oh, good, Heather. I'm glad that was, yes. I'm glad that was, okay. So Courtney, you're interested in the closed door Zoom session. So yeah, I was thinking Monday evening we could do that. If anyone else is interested to jump on a Zoom call with me, that you guys we can just kind of chat, see what it's all like going on in the program, pick my brain. I would be more than happy. And again, for those, I know we have a lot of questions being submitted. I'm so excited about the questions I've been getting from you guys for our Monday morning session. But if you guys want to talk through things, we can do a Monday evening Zoom session that we can actually work things out. Let me just make sure that I'm looking through my notes before I do. Oh, and again, today, if you want that one-on-one call with me, like that one-on-one Zoom session with me, just you and I alone, sign up for membership today. After today, I'm not offering this again. And then again, sign up by Wednesday of next week. Our price is $297 now. It will be going up to $497 after by Wednesday of next week. So I hope everybody found this helpful. Reach out to your concierge if you need anything. If you don't have a concierge, let us know. Concierges are my team members that are making sure you guys are having a great experience. Let us know if you don't have anybody. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and we will see you Monday for our question and answer session.